Oh, what's up, everybody? So, it is, I don't know, 3 days after Thanksgiving or something like that, and we're starting to get our first snow. And, big announcement, I think I alluded to this on one of my previous videos, but I moved. So, I moved back to the Connecticut area, out of the Boston area, and I have to be honest, I miss Boston, but it is, I mean, clearly I'm standing in the woods and I don't have 100 people around me like every hiking area in Boston. So, it's quite refreshing. I know for a lot of people, they find relaxation in watching sports or going shopping or something like that. For me, it's just this. It's just peace and quiet as a dog is barking in the background. But the reason that I'm filming today is in the area, or in an area by where I live, I found a pretty cool shelter spot. And I just kind of want to show you guys what a good shelter area looks like. I know a lot of people that are building shelters for survival practice and stuff like that. It's very important to practice your skills. You just throw it up next to a tree, but you're not really looking at the surrounding area of where you're at to see what natural structures you could use to your advantage. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through where I have found and where, if I had a choice, I would build a shelter. So obviously behind me is a nice big wall here, and this is probably 11 foot tall, has a nice bed of leaves at the bottom. And as we look on the uphill side, there's another big rock, has a nice windbreak up there, and then some pretty dense vegetation over here. I believe those are mountain laurels, a wall off in the background, and this is all a fairly subtle slope. It's nothing too drastic. We have some rocks sticking up here and there, and then we have another probably 11-foot wall here as well, and another bed of rocks there, and then it basically drops off into a steep ravine, a hill. I'm not going to exaggerate. So basically, if I had a choice to build a shelter anywhere, it would be likely right here. I would probably use this as a backdrop for a fire, put a fire pit probably right about there, and then put a shelter kind of up and open this way, and then with a slope going down that way, using this as kind of the backdrop. Now, I know a lot of people are thinking, well, why wouldn't you use the big rock as a backdrop? Obviously we have ample structure here to kind of use as a backdrop, and I could build a shelter here facing that area, and that would actually be optimal in terms of fire reflection, and creating a nice convection area to keep heat in, especially now that we're entering winter time. But the only issue that I have with a shelter like that is you really only have one way out, and that is towards the fire, which is not a good idea. So the reason that I'm not doing this as the backdrop and building a shelter towards that area is just for my own safety and security. I think having this as a large windbreak, and having a nice natural structure here, you can even use this large crack to wedge a upright into, so that you can use this as part of your shelter building. And then using kind of this area, obviously we would clear this out down to bare ground, and then on top of that add rocks if we were going to have a fire here, just so that obviously the ground is protected, we're protected, but also we're not catching all this bed of leaves or anything like that on fire. Also, a reason why I'm picking this over that is, if you look at the big area back off in this direction, that's the most open spot. So that is where, if there is wind, it's either going to come from over here or it's going to come from over here. Now, this is a fairly narrow path, so if I'm building my roof here, then I will be fairly protected from the wind from this direction. But from that direction, if I was over there, I would be basically exposed in most areas that I wasn't protected by shelter. Now, I just like to build a simple lean-to. I don't like to go super crazy with shelters, because if you think about it, in a survival situation, you're likely not going to build a shelter that you're going to be living in. It's something to protect you for the night, and you're going to get up early the next day and get moving. So it's not, we're not building a cabin in the woods. We're building just something that's simple enough, is not going to waste a ton of energy, but is also going to protect us enough to keep us alive that night. So I think this area is really fantastic. There are plenty of big trees. There's no, obviously it's fall time, so there's not a lot of leaves on the trees up here, but there's no obvious widowmakers, which is very important if you're, if you don't scout out the spot that you're staying in and you're sleeping directly under a widowmaker and there's a bad windstorm. That's why they call them widowmakers. So, I mean, there's obviously, I had alluded this to earlier, there's an option to use this basically in the same situation. But if you look at the surrounding area back here, there's a lot more open forest for wind to pick up and basically chill you to the bone. So this is, mostly for a winter survival scenario. Hopefully you never have to be in one of those. One last thing I want to mention before I kind of end the video here is, as I had mentioned before, this is kind of on a downhill slope, and then there's a hill down over here. And so if you are surviving in the winter, or if you're creating a shelter for practice or something like that, basically the idea of having it be a higher spot up here and then have, obviously a cold well down there is, you want cold air to flow away from you. And so cold air sinks. So if you are in the bottom of a hill or a bottom of a valley and you're in a dip, that's where the cold air is going to settle, even if you have, a fire and stuff like that. So up here, heat's going to rise. It's going to be maybe a degree or two warmer up here than it would be down at the bottom of that hill. And, that could be the difference between 34 degrees and 32 degrees. That's freezing. So, and that could be the difference between your water bottles freezing or staying somewhat liquid at night. So I think this would be the best bet for an area to build a shelter, and I think I'm going to build one there. I'm not, I don't think I'm going to be doing fires around here, just because, that might change. We'll see kind of how comfortable we feel in the area, but obviously it's not, you want to be very careful starting fires in the woods. I really don't encourage people to do it. I know a lot of people do it for YouTube's sake, but what a lot of people don't understand, and luckily we're not in an area where there's a lot of conifers, but obviously tree roots grow under the ground. If you start a fire in the ground and those tree roots light on fire, they could smolder for days and days and days, up to weeks, that people don't realize. And that smoldering could end up catching a tree or catching a patch of leaves on fire. So especially now that we have a ground literally covered in tinder, we don't want to be going out and lighting fires out here, unless it's in a controlled environment. If you have like a metal bowl or something that you can catch the ash in, that you could prevent those roots or anything like that from catching on fire, that is greatly encouraged. Or if you don't have a metal bowl, if you can actually dig a fire pit and make a dedicated fire pit that's surrounded with rocks, and that is, is not going to catch anything under the ground on fire, that is ideal. I wouldn't go out of my way to be lighting anything on fire in the woods. It's potentially harming, obviously, because it's a fire, but for practice sake, as long as you're being safe, that's really what matters. So I'll likely over the next couple months build a shelter out here, maybe spend a few nights, just to kind of show you guys what I would do in a survival situation, just to keep myself safe. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you learned a little bit of something, and if you guys like this, hit a like, comment, whatever, subscribe to the channel. I fucking love seeing all you guys subscribing to the channel, because I have a wealth of knowledge that I'd love to share with people. So next time, or if you get a chance, just hit the subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time.